Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Morning Mindset. I welcome you this morning. I hope you're ready to get your mind aligned with the truth of God. I wanted to ask you this morning if you can recall a time in your life when God gave you a course correction in terms of how you were thinking. He adjusted your mindset. He caused you to recognize that something you were thinking or believing was in fact not true, and He adjusted your perspective. That really is a kind thing that God does to us periodically. But sometimes the way in which it has to happen doesn't feel all that kind because we have to go through a difficult circumstance. Sometimes that is a consequence of the wrong way that we're thinking or believing. And as human beings, it seems that that's the only way we learn sometimes. And I'm thankful that God is patient with us, and He's committed to helping us learn things like that. Now, I bring all of that up because Psalm chapter 31 that we're going to look at today is a psalm that is that sort of a circumstance where David had taken refuge in the Lord as he should. He was a follower of God, and yet there are certain ways in which he thought wrongly. And in this psalm, he recounts those ways, and then he tells us how God changed his thinking, what God did to show him the error of his ways. Now let's read, and I'll point out the sections where this is true, and where this is the circumstance for David, and you can see how God changed his perspective. Psalm 31, he says, "In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness deliver me. Incline your ear to me, rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me." Now you see, David's off on the right foot here. He's depending on the Lord. He knows that in this hard time, God is his source of deliverance. And he says so in the next verse, "You are my rock and my fortress, and for your name's sake you lead and guide me. You take me out of the net they've hidden for me. You're my refuge. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You've redeemed me, O Lord, my faithful God." You see, and he is thinking rightly at this point. But then the next set of verses go on and show that he comes into a time of affliction and that God has not delivered him as he hoped. And he says in verse 9, "Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye is wasted from grief, my soul and my body also, for my life is spent with sorrow and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my iniquity and my bones waste away." Now, we're still in a place where David is just describing what he's experiencing. He's not thinking wrongly. He goes on and he says his adversaries have caused him to become a reproach to everyone. He's been forgotten, like one who is dead. He's become like a broken vessel. He hears the whispering of others who are scheming to take away his life. And it sounds like, though these things could be true, David's mind is getting into this place of imagining. He's imagining all these things that are going on. Now, of course, these could be true, but it's like his emotions are getting all riled up, and that we all know what that's like, to be overwhelmed with the feelings of the difficult circumstance that we're in. And he says in verse 16, "Lord, make your face shine on your servant. Save me in your steadfast love. Let me not be put to shame. For I call on you. Let the wicked be put to shame. Let them go silently to Sheol." And then in verse 21 is where David admits the way he was thinking wrongly. He says, "Blessed be the Lord, for he has wondrously shown his steadfast love to me when I was in a besieged city. I had said in my alarm, I am cut off from your sight." You see, David thought God wasn't seeing his plight. And he says, "But you heard the voice of my pleas for mercy when I cried for your help. Love the Lord, all you his saints. The Lord preserves the faithful and abundantly repays the one who acts in pride. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who wait for the Lord." So David is using his lesson to teach us a similar lesson. In those times when you think you're cut off from God's sight and he adjusts your perspective, trust in him.